Well, once to begin there, guys, Brian here at 3Tier, here to bring you another awesome movie review as I'll be giving you my thoughts on the newest installment of the Star Trek franchise, or this reboot franchise, simply titled Star Trek Beyond. Now, this movie brings back a lot of really the returning cast you have seen over the past two films, along with adding a couple of really cool additions. And this time it is not directed by J.J. Abrams, but is directed by Fast and Furious director, or the director of the last two Fast and Furious films, Mr. Justin Lin. Now, in terms of the main plot of this movie, it actually takes place during the, infamous 5-year mission of the Enterprise, where they've been pretty much just going to worlds and pretty much establishing alliances. And when they get to one specific planet, which apparently there's been this major, just terrible disaster, they end up actually getting attacked by this just swarm of unknown aliens, which just completely devastate the Enterprise, forcing the Enterprise's crew to have to evacuate and go on to this mining planet. And it's really from that point on they have to figure out exactly what is going on and how to get off this planet and stop this super weapon which can cause major damage to the Federation. Now, I have to say that the trailers for this going in are actually very, very misleading, and I hope you don't follow the trailers too much, because it actually really isn't as action-packed and over-the-top as the trailers would actually have you believe it is. And it's actually a very, very well-done, character-driven film that has a lot of really, really intense moments which actually make you care about the characters. And it actually, in many ways, brings it back to the classic feeling of the original Star Trek series, in which it was never about the action or the atmosphere, but it really is about the characters. And it really is the characters that make this movie really stand out and make it very, very enjoyable. Now, I'm happy to say that everyone does a phenomenal job with their parts. I mean, they've done a really great job with the last two films, and so they really just continue their work here. I can honestly say, without spoiling too much, that probably the best dynamic of the film actually comes from Carl Urban's Bones and Zachary Quinto's Spock, because I'd say out of all of the members of the Enterprise crew, I think they spend the most time together, and they, without question, steal all the scenes anytime it's just the two of them together. I can say that the newest addition to, I'd say, the protagonist cast is this girl named Jayla, who was previously already on the planet and is just kind of more of a scavenger. I can't think of the actress's name, but I promise you if she does one more great film, I will remember her name, but she was in the movie Kingsman. And she is probably my favorite addition to the main cast of characters, because she is a strong female character, but she never overstays her boundaries. She always seems vulnerable, but capable of handling herself, and she doesn't really present herself as being overpowered, and she does acknowledge it when she needs help, and she fits right into the cast perfectly. Idris Elba plays as the main antagonist, Crawl, and for the most part, I felt he was pretty generic. I think the makeup job was a bit too much. I think they did too much to try and make him look scary, and his backstory really is quite confusing. I mean, when you first see him, he seems all intimidating and, threatening, which you would expect. But when you really get more about his backstory and what he's trying to do, some viewers might find it interesting, but I found myself simply asking more questions. As for, wait a minute, if this is your goal, and this is who you are, or this is who you were, how exactly did this happen? How did you gain this new ability? And who are these other people around you? And it kind of took me out of the movie just a little bit. The action in this movie is very well handled, however, I think the soundtrack, though kind of a throwback to the first film, might take some people out of the film, but only slightly. Overall, I felt that Star Trek Beyond was a truly great Star Trek film, and it even handled the loss of two characters, which I'm not going to mention because in terms of one specific character, they actually work their death into the movie and make it a plot point, but it feels genuine and it feels respectable. But apart from that, everything else about this film really, really does work. The only main flaw that I could say the movie has is it has just a couple of out-of-place scenes, and I think that the villain was, in my opinion, the weakest villain that I've seen out of all three films, because you've had Nero, who I think, in my opinion, was the strongest villain, and you have Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan, which some people didn't like, but I personally enjoyed, and then you have this new character, Crawl, who just seems like there's just not enough depth to them, especially when all the other cast members of this film had so much more to their characters and didn't just feel one-dimensional. If I had to give Star Trek Beyond a rating, I'm going to give it an A-. Absolutely check this out when you get a chance. In fact, I would suggest you see it actually multiple times with friends, and it will certainly enhance your experience when you see this movie in theaters. If you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to meet my future movie reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.